Well, thank you very much, Graham. Now, we are honoured this morning to welcome the one and only Ubaba Jonny Clegg, who has produced more than 4 decades of life-changing, life-affirming and groundbreaking music for hundreds of thousands of fans and people who admire and adore him around the world. Now, from the time he began mastering Zulu music and traditional Zulu intlangwini dancing as a teenager to the formation of Jonny and Sipho and then Juluka with Sipho Mchunu in the late 70s to the creation of Savuka and the past 23 years as a solo artist, Ubaba has carved out a music career that places him alongside the world's most acclaimed artists. And this morning we are so honoured to have him on the couch amidst his farewell tour. Can we please have a round of applause? Jonny Clegg.
Thank you.
Kunjani ba?
Yes,
jabula kwangempela ukuba nawe this morning. And as I said those words, that you are now on the brink of going on to your farewell tour, I'm filled with sadness. And I almost want to say, why? Why?
Because it's time, really. You know, I'm finishing an autobiography, and the idea really is that I'm going to do a worldwide farewell tour, which is an autobiographical show. So my full story, of which I've told bits and pieces along the way in different shows, I'm integrating into a single show, and then I'm hanging up my boots.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I hope we'll still be able to come for a little private concert somewhere there where you're just holding a guitar and around a braai fire or something like that.
That'll be fine.
Tell me about how you being a British national, having moved to Zimbabwe, then immigrating to South Africa, that has influenced the way in which you not only accept but understand culture and multiculturalism so deeply.
I left England when I was 6 months old. My mom was born in Zimbabwe. I grew up on a farm until I was 7. Then she married a South African journalist. We moved to South Africa, and then about a year or two later, we moved to Zambia. And Zambia was a very important part of my transformation because the country was non-racial. There were more black kids at school than white. So I had a different model of how society can be structured and organized.
Yeah.
And when I came back to South Africa, it was pretty difficult for me. I was 11, 12, 13, around about that age. And my mom was a musician, I was learning guitar, and when I met a Zulu street guitar musician, that kind of opened the road for me. And I was open to it because I'd come from Zambia at that time.
Yeah.
So it was really being a migrant in these 3 countries that enabled me to, at a young age, have a much more open idea about people, culture and places.
When you think about the reasons and the motivation why you made music back then and how you make it now and throughout the years, has that changed?
Not really, because Maskanda music is divided, that's Zulu street guitar music, divided into 2 broad traditions. One is the adaptation of existing traditional music, which was never designed for guitar. And then there is the troubadour part of it, which is making social commentary about your life in the hostels, the wars you're fighting, the problems you're having with women, whatever it is. And you sing it, you walk through the streets and you sing these little bits of social information. And so that aspect of my songwriting has always been there. It's shaped by that Maskanda tradition. I've always made a comment about what I see around me, and it's been very important in my songwriting, I suppose, tradition. And
speaking of songs, we all have our favourites. But what is Jonny Clegg's favourite Jonny Clegg song?
Scatterlings of Africa. It was the song that launched Juluka internationally in 1982. And when we recorded it with Savuka, it launched my second band. It went to #1 in France, Switzerland, Belgium. So the song has been a very important career platform for me. But also it came out of a period of, I suppose, fierce debate about the origins of man coming from Africa. And at that time, there was no population genetics. Population genetics really started in around about 1985, 86. And I wrote the song in 1982. And we were all trying to understand the significance of paleontological evidence, bones, and, you know, And the oldest, as we knew then, came from Africa. And so we posited that Africa was the birthplace. And then when population genetics came around, we could prove definitively that the oldest genes were African.
And we are all scatlings.
And we're all scatlings of Africa.
Wow. So listen, if you want to see the man himself, the legend that is Jonny Clegg live, be sure to catch him at Grand West on Friday the 30th of June, then at the ICC in Durban on the 29th of July, also then at Monte Casino on the 10th, 11th and 12th of August. There are also dates there in July on the 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th of July. But of course, if you're not able to make those shows, then make sure that you stay tuned to your Feel Good Breakfast show, because he will be performing live in just a bit.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
A very warm welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. On your Feel Good Breakfast Show this morning on Expresso, as we currently, of course, welcome Jonny Clegg, who's preparing for his farewell tour that starts off on the 30th of June. And this morning, he'll be performing a song that brought a nation together. And the song was originally produced on the track with Sipho Mkhunu as part of Juluka and was featured on their first album, Universal Men. Here he is performing Africa.
One, two, three.
Afrika kukhala bangcwele, Afrika kukhala bangcwele wema, Afrika kukhala bangcwele, hey Afrika kukhala bangcwele wema, alala, alala. Rain falling like a symphony on the rooftop of my heart. There's a movement in the silent deep before this big dream starts. I see your eyes shining like a neon light, you smiling in the dark. Ooh, what made you so strong? What made you so strong? I see you walking in the marketplace, you buy political regret. You've been walking on the water again, you know your feet never get wet. You just said Afrika kukhala bangcwele, Afrika kukhala bangcwele wema, Afrika kukhala bangcwele, Afrika kukhala bangcwele wema, alala, alala. I say a prayer for the innocent ones. I say a prayer for our love. I say a prayer for peace on earth, for the daughters and the sons. While your life unfolds like a cheap street fight, you're smiling in the dark. You just say, Afrika kukhala bangcwele, Afrika kukhala bangcwele wema, Afrika kukhala bangcwele, Afrika kukhala bangcwele wema, alala. Afrika kukhala bangcwele, Afrika kukhala bangcwele wema, Afrika kukhala bangcwele, Afrika kukhala bangcwele wema. Afrika kukhala bangcwele, khala bangcwele, Afrika kukhala bangcwele wema, Afrika kukhala bangcwele, khala bangcwele wema, Afrika kukhala bangcwele wema, alala, alala.
and only Mr. Jonny Clegg on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. What a way to start this morning. Thank you so much. Of course, comment on our Facebook page and let us know what you thought about that performance. There'll be more from Jonny Clegg later on your Feel Good Breakfast Show.